All right, everybody, welcome back to Unscripted from my studios in Old Hilliard. And 1 year ago, I sat with the man on my right or left, depending on how you're looking at this video. And we recorded an episode that was the most popular. If you're looking at the stats, it was the most watched, most viewed, most listened to interview I've ever done. The funny thing is, 1 year ago, I sent an email based on a song called Say I Won't by the band Mercy Me. If you have been following, I think for some of you, you've been following, you've been listening, you know the story. If you don't, let me give it to you in 2 seconds. I was on my way to a job, my first day on a new job, heard the song Say I Won't by Mercy Me. And I heard the lyrics, "Today it all begins." I was kind of blown away, and I went home and did what most of us do. And we pulled up a video, and I watched a video called Say I Won't by the band Mercy Me. And there was this gentleman named Gary Miracle featured in that song, in that video. I did what I do. I sent an email, and 24 hours, 48 hours later, I got a response, and he said, "I'll be happy to come on." So that's the very short version, and we'll get more into the longer version today. But would you please welcome my guest, Gary Miracle?
Gary Miracle. Can you from here on out say the Gary Miracle?
Well, we're in Columbus, so it's the Ohio State. But yes, you are the Gary Miracle. You've been to Columbus, so I think that qualifies. You are the
Old Hilliard specifically.
Old Hilliard specifically, absolutely. You've seen Tots.
Okay.
All right. Moving on very quickly. Moving on. Welcome to the Gary and Aaron show. We have been through a lot. And so, Gary, welcome to the show, man. Welcome back to Unscripted, my brother.
I don't know what's going to happen here, but
it is unscripted.
I hope people like it or think it's funny. Like you think we're funny.
Sorry, 99% of the world won't know what Tots is, but that's fine. And but welcome back, my friend. Welcome back.
Thank you, man. It has been a year. Like that's crazy to me. Like,
crazy.
It's just crazy that I've known you for a year. It's been a year since we've been on this setting. I know we've done some random things here, there, and thrown some things out there, but just to sit and chat and catch up, and man, 1 year later, look where we are.
That's right. You're wearing a shirt that wasn't even it wasn't even in the process a year ago. Gary is rocking the Athletes shirt, which more to come on that. But
I am.
So I made a list because I didn't want to miss, and I know I'm going to miss a lot. But just again, if this is the Cliff Notes version, if you've never listened to our first episode, not to promote my own podcast, or watch the YouTube video, there's a lot of tears, there's a lot of laughter, and so let me pause. We said a year ago, I sat in this very same studio, and I said to you, it looked a lot different then, but I said to you, if we laughed and we cried on the episode, then we did our job. I think we're something along the lines of what I said. And my goodness, man, we did it in that episode. And I think for the last year, we've man, we cried a lot of tears. Yeah. We've made a lot of laughs. There's more text than we can even count. So Gary, you mind if I run through this list of things I just wrote down?
I would love to. And I'm looking at the camera so that you and people think I'm looking at you, because if I look at you, I'm going to lose it. So I'm just going to keep looking.
All right. We're not going to cry in this episode. We're not going to do it, Gary. I promise. All right. So we ran a 2-mile race, and you have to watch the video. Actually, you ran a 2-mile race. I walked behind because I'm whatever. I stayed at your house 2 times. The very episode where you are right now, I've seen that house, and man, that alone is twice I've been in your home. And please, if you're listening to this, please go back and find all the previous episodes, because there's a lot more detail in each one of those, including when I stayed at your house for the first time. You stayed at mine. You've been at my home.
And I think I've been where you're at, unless you're in the creep I don't know.
I'm in the basement. So, but
No,
no,
I've never been in Aaron's basement, people. Okay.
you did stay in my office, and there's many stories. If we could tell stories all day, man, it would be so people wouldn't even know. All right, so you've been in my house, you've been at my home, a men's retreat in Florida, and got to be with your village, which we'll talk about in a minute. We've been to a Mercy Me concert together. We had a night with Gary Miracle right here in Hilliard, in Old Hilliard, at our friends at the Crooked Can. We've met you've met many of my friends in my village. Something, again, we talked about in the first episode. And I got the chance to meet many of your village and your friends. Man, I met your incredible family, and I promise we're not going to cry in this episode, Gary, but yeah. I've had the opportunity to spend time with your incredible family, your mom and dad, your brother-in-law, your sister-in-law, your nephews, your kids, man. We got to do that in the last year. I got to stay in their house. I got to stay in your parents' house. So there's that.
You had a slumber party with my dad.
I did, and your mom and dad. Yeah, no, they're man, I could just tell you right now, the Miracle family is they become my family. We're not gonna cry in this episode, Gary. Dadgummit. All right. Man, we've shared more texts than I could probably even remember. And they're probably even allowed by T-Mobile. I'm surprised I haven't got a message yet from them to say stop texting Gary Miracle. We've recorded multiple episodes. We got to surprise a local friend who's close to both of us, Caitlin Kaufman, with a very special evening with Mercy Me and Micah Tyler. And that was awesome. And there's an amazing blooper reel that's out there somewhere. There is a blooper reel that's out there somewhere that's pretty funny. And if y'all knew the whole thing, I mean, I think we did a pretty good job of editing the blooper reel. But if you saw the whole thing, and I can't even begin to tell you, there's a whole blank page below my list that I think it represents all the things I can't even begin to thank you for. Share with this audience of what the last year has meant. But those are the highlights. Those are the just, again, y'all don't even understand. In 365 days, the history and what has happened because Gary Miracle responded to an email. And so, yeah, man, thank you. I it's just two simple words, but thank you for responding to an email, because I know the last year has challenged me. You called me out. We've had our first fight a few times, I think, maybe once. I don't know. Have we had our first fight here?
I mean, it's been heated a couple times.
A couple times on text. Yeah. And if you guys understood the context of that, you'd laugh even more. But we've been through it. And yeah, man, you responded to an email. So, all right, I'm done talking. That's my list. How the heck are you, Gary Miracle?
Man, I'm good. There's so much on that list that's probably just missing. I mean, you've done, like you said, man, people are probably going to be so bored with this episode because it's me and you getting the feels out on each other right now. But
right.
Man, it's just been a lot. I do interviews on a weekly basis, and you're more than a guy who runs a podcast. And then for everybody listening to this, I'm going to flip the script and tell you how much of a real deal Aaron is. And I don't say that lightly. I don't say that to promote him. I don't say that to make him feel good. I'm saying that to say that my village wouldn't have been complete if Aaron didn't send me an email because of a song, because of a job, because of a car ride. And my village is strong. And I'm sitting here 1 year later. I mean, my goodness gracious, 1 year later, and I'm a better man because of you, brother. Man, I'm a better man. I'm a better father. I believe I'm a better Christ follower because because you sent me an email asking to chat, and here we are. And we've done so much life together, and
Right.
man, we got so many stories, so many inside jokes, so many things that may put us in jail, so many things that may do all the things that we're not going to talk about right now, but that's what brothers do. And I'm just so thankful for you and this opportunity. And let's just talk to the people, man. Let's just encourage people. Let's update people. Let's
do it.
Let's do all the things.
Let's do it. Yeah. And I just, one more thing I want to share. Your dad, because you live 45 minutes from the airport, and I've been to your home twice. Your parents were nice enough to pick me up and bring me back to where you are located twice. Had some very cool talks and amazing talks with your dad. Like I said, your family's become my family. I don't even want to mention, well, I do want to mention your sister and her husband and their amazing kids. Man, your family's my family. But anyway, your dad, we were just so you all know, he was taking me back to the airport, and I was walking through a season, very difficult season, especially that weekend that I was in Florida. Gary's dad said, he sent me a text after I arrived in Columbus, and he said, I send a text to my kids every day just to check on them and let them know I'm praying for them. Can I add you to that list? Just so you all know. Again, like you said, Gary, let's move on. But I wanted you all to know how this is the kind of family and people that the Miracle family are. And man, I feel like a part of the family. And yeah, okay, all right.
Okay.
So Gary, where are we now? Ooh, it's been a minute. So let's start with the beginning, man. Let's go. Well, really quickly, you sat there on an episode. 2 promises were made. I made a promise that I was going to get a tattoo. I held up my end of the bargain. So you promised that you'd be running on you said I will be running on the field with my kids in August. All I know is I got on a plane to go to Florida because somebody ran 2 miles or did a 2-mile race in Florida. So you kept your end of the bargain too. And when we have a guest in the waiting room, shall I let him in, or first you tell your story and then let's let that guest in?
Yeah, man, that was my deal. Right. It was my I won't moment that I wanted to figure out how to walk again. It's in the music video. It's a sign that I held up at the end, say I won't walk again.
Right.
And I ended up doing that, and my prideful, competitive butt didn't want to stop there. So I said, say I won't run again. And they fitted me for running blades, and they put me on them. And on August 15th, 2021, August 15th, 2021, I started and finished a 2-mile race. And it was not a very graceful race, but I crossed that finish line in the arms of my father and my sister, and you right there by my side. And a moment I'll never forget, a moment I'm so thankful was captured on video and camera. But yeah, let's keep it going. So much has changed this last year. We got somebody. Let's pop him in. All
right. Let's let our guest in.
Or not. And there he is. You are literally in a laundromat.
I am sitting in a laundromat. Well, standing now. Yeah. Luckily, I'm the only one here, so I can join you.
Well, that's perfect. I've been sitting for 2 years, so you can sit. It's okay. Feel free. All right.
I like your
all right. So this is, give you a little context, Mark. This is Aaron. Aaron is my brother, man. He's a guy that a little over a year ago reached out to me after seeing the music video and just sent me an email and has a podcast and wanted to reach out and talk to me. And we did. And man, just became brothers over this last year. And man, I'm just trying to bring my village together. And this is us. This is happening right now. This is our 1 year.
It is unscripted.
Yeah, this is unscripted. So clearly,
totally.
Laundromat.
Yeah, I'm in a laundromat. So what
to everybody else, this is Mark Stewart. Everybody knows this man as the big house guy, right? The
big house. Yep.
Lead singer of Audio Adrenaline from like the 1970s or something like that. I think is when he was.
Yeah.
But I just. As we're going through everything that's happened with me, to me, for me over this last year, Man, Mark, I just wanted to bring you in just to say hi, because you have been such an instrumental part of my story over this last year, since what, like maybe August-ish, I think.
Yeah, August of last year, right?
Yeah, last year, and just going through hard times that Aaron and I are probably going to get into here in a minute, and I'm just going to be very open and honest. But man, I just wanted to bring you in and say hi. And listen, I had a bucket list moment with Mark Stewart right here. There was a moment at a Mercy Me concert not that long ago that he decided to go up on he was coerced maybe to go up on stage with me during Mercy Me's ridiculous song Happy Dance. And this 80-year-old man right here decided that he was look at him, he's still a rock star.
Rock star, absolutely.
He decided that while I'm limping around trying not to fall, he was going to dive on the ground and do the worm all the way across the stage.
He did.
Mark, what is it going to take to get you to worm across that laundromat right now?
He can do it. I've seen it. I've seen it.
That's not going to happen. I think he broke his hip that day.
Was that Columbus or Nashville?
Where was that show?
It was Columbus or Nashville, because I remember seeing it. Wait, it wasn't Columbus. Was it Columbus?
It had to have been Columbus, because Nashville was canceled, and we just did Nashville like a month or two ago. So
I swear y'all did it in Columbus, and it was insane. It was awesome.
Columbus, Ohio. So that was.
And Gary almost kicked Bart in the face while he was dancing and did a high kick. Remember that?
Did a high kick. I did a high kick. But Mark, man, we're just going through my year, and we're just talking. And I just wanted to bring you in and say thank you for who you are, how much we chat, how much life you've been through that has been so instrumental in walking through this season of my life. And wanted the people to see you and just let you say hi for a second.
Yeah, man. Well, it's an honor to be with you guys. It's crazy, this anniversary thing. It's insane. And honestly, Gary, this has been a bigger blessing for me to hang out with you than I'm sure that I've been in your life, because you've inspired me, my wife, my kids. All of us go through crap. We've all been through disasters, and we've all been, I lost my voice, I lost a career, lost a marriage. But when I see the way you've taken these hits and just rely on God, and I know you have your ups and downs, you're not, Superman, but man, the joy that you bring us is it's incomparable, and it's life-giving to us. So for me, just to connect with you has been a blessing. It's a bucket list thing for me. So you've become a hero to me, man, just to watch your life inspire people. Every night when we watch that video take place, there's people in the crowd that are there for that moment.
Yeah.
And moms,
myself included.
Yeah, there's moms there with their children in wheelchairs, or there's moms there with their kids that might have or whatever needs that they have. And those moms are holding on to their kids saying, look at that. Look at what we can do. Look what God can do still. And it's been incredible to watch. It's been a blessing for us, man. I'm just happy to be riding on your coattails and coming along for the journey to see what God's doing. And I apologize for the view. I drove all night. We're in Minneapolis tonight, and that's my underwear in the dryer back there. So that's about as good as it gets.
So scripted. That's how scripted as it gets right there.
So don't let your camera angle go down. I don't want to see what's in the jacket at this point.
It's not good. I don't want to be on the floor, that's for sure.
Fantastic.
Good thing. I'm in an RV park and in a laundromat. That's two strikes right there. I don't want to be on the ground.
Oh, all right. man.
All right, let me just say this, Gary, really quick. Mark and I have exchanged some texts, and I promise you, I hope Mark will come on one day and tell his story, because I think there's a lot of people that want to hear your story that have or have not been to the concert. And I'm not going to spoil it, but there is a story you tell at the concert. Let me say this really quick. Had the blessing when I dropped Gary off in Columbus into the Mercy Me concert. That's when we met. And I had a chance to meet your daughter. And Gary's words to me were, wait till you hear her story. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. At the moment, I had no idea how impactful and powerful that story was. So teaser alert. And I'm putting you on the hook, Mark. You got to come back on to tell that story because it's amazing. You had me a wreck at the Mercy Me concert. And I sat there, and I'm just going to say this. I looked at my wife and I said, I hugged that little girl this morning. So that's it. I'm going to leave all those teasers out there. But man, I look forward to hopefully telling your story one day and allowing you tell that, or giving you a platform to tell that story, because man, God's amazing, man. And if not, you got to go to a Mercy Me concert to hear the story, right? Is that the only other place? Because trust me, I looked online, I can't find it anywhere. So
she just now decided to tell that story. She knew her story since she was little.
Yeah.
And but we kept that story for her to tell, and now she's like, I'm ready to go and encourage other girls about identity and about their self-worth. And it's a powerful story for sure. But let me encourage. I got to take off because my underwear's almost done.
You gotta get your underwear done.
Yeah. I want to tell everybody out there, just remind you that Gary has an incredible story. My daughter has a story. I have a story of redemption.
Yes.
But everybody out there has a testimony. People belong to Jesus. And you need to remember what God's done. Never forget what God's done in your life, and hold on to that for the moments when you're in the valleys, because he's at work and he's doing good things in our lives. He's doing good things in your life. So hang on to that. Remember it. There's somebody coming into the laundromat, so I'm going to get out of here.
You got Mark. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, Mark. Love you, brother. So you sent me an email, right? And I get emails. I got a request yesterday. I mean, I get emails to do this. I am beyond blessed and humbled with the doors that the Lord is opening for me on a daily basis.
Right.
Even right. And we got to talk, and there were times that I heard from people that they would go to my website, GaryMiracle.com, and they would go to my website and they would click on our podcast more than they would click on the Mercy Me Say I Won't video, or the behind the scenes making of the music video, or the Fox and Friends. Like they would click on ours outside of anything else.
Wow.
And I would just get messages about this. And like this started a journey for me. And that was in May, right? That was in May of last year. So we're a little under a year, but right at the year mark right now. It was at that time that I was in between my third and my fourth different prosthetic facility, because I spent a year of my life finding people that would be willing to help me figure out how to have my say I won't moment in walking again. And I was in between those moments, and it was June 5th, a little under a month after we first connected last year, that I landed at the most amazing facility on this planet that took me under their wings and sat me down and asked me why it took so long, why it took me a year to be up on my feet walking again.
Wow.
And they looked dead at me and they said, I'm going to have you walking by the end of this week, and you're going to be running by July 4th. And I looked at them and I said, get thee behind me, Satan. You're just that doesn't make any sense. Again, June 5th for context, right? And I'm going to try to speed this up because I don't know we have a ton of time. So that was June 5th. June 7th, I was on my feet walking.
Wow.
Because of them, because of the people that are out there in this world right now that are using their hands and feet to give people like me hands and feet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's their sole purpose in life. And they are serving people with their gifts and with their talents and with their, and we'll probably say this a million times in our conversation. There was a day that they were sitting there and they applied for a job, right? They shot their shot.
Right.
They applied for a job. They got a call, they got an interview, and they made me legs at the end of the day. 2 days later, after 1 year of trying to figure this out, 2 days later, I was up and walking on my feet. Then they told me July 4th I'd be running. Still thought that they were crazy. But they got me thinking, like, could I, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, say I won't. Is that my next say I won't moment? I'm walking, I'm on my feet now. So I didn't believe them. I have trust issues. That's okay.
That's fine,
man. All right. So what I did, I came home that night and I started Googling the 5Ks that were coming up. I'm like, they're telling me I can do it. They told me I was going to be walking by the end of the week, and I was walking in 2 days. So if I'm going to lean into this. I'm going to lean in and decide and choose to trust them. I'm going to trust them with what they think they can do with me. I'm going to trust them with what they think they see in me. I'm going to trust them with the plans they have for me. And I decided to scale it down a bit. Didn't find a 5K race, but I found a 2-mile race in August, 2 months away. And I just remember having that moment of just saying, say I won't. Like, I got to do this. These people believe in me. These people see something in me. These people are firing me up. I'm ready to run through a brick wall with the way these people are talking to me and the way that I see other people in this facility working out and fighting for life and learning what it means to live and not just be alive and actually living it out. So I decided to do it. And I took the bold step and I signed up for the race. And I trained my heart out. I dropped 30 pounds in those 2 months. I was running on treadmills. I was doing everything that I could possibly do to get ready for August 15th. And then August 15th was right around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And Satan shot his shot at me.
Right.
Satan shot his shot hard. Because on August 12th, my wife left of 12 years. 3 days before the race that I had my say I won't moment for. And Satan doesn't get enough credit for what he does in this world and in our lives. We don't give him enough credit for how good he is at what he does. Christ warned us. He let us know he's out here to steal, kill, and destroy, and he's going to do everything in his power to do those 3 things. Mm-hmm. So let's rob Gary of all of his joy. Let's rob Gary. Let's steal it from him. Let's kill it. Let's destroy it. Let's do it. And it's not me. I'm not super Christian. I don't have Sunday school answers. I don't have any of that. All I know is I'm a prideful, competitive person. So 3 days after my wife left me, I can't say I laced up my shoes. I guess that would be weird to say, right?
They were pre-laced.
They were pre-laced. They were pre-bladed. But I put my blades on and showed up.
All right. So let me interject, Gary, because I think it's important what we're saying right now. And welcome to Unscripted. And this episode may go 2 hours. I don't know. From a friend perspective, because of your email, because of our text, because of our relationship, because you invited me to your village, I was a spectator in this process. You sent me a text, almost a he said type of episode here, but you sent me a text. I was aware of your situation because of our friendship, and I'll never be thankful enough for that, but and honored enough. But you just sent me a text. I was aware of what was happening, and prior to that, I think I might have sent you a picture of my tattoo, which took me absolutely nothing and no work. just a tat.
A lot of pain.
It wasn't even pain, man. It was so simple. I was pumped to get it. But anyway, so I get my tat. I'm like, hey, here you go. And then I think at some point, as you signed up for that, you sent me a text. And I think the direct words of the text were, put your money where your mouth is. I'm doing this 2-miler. And I think I signed up in, I don't know, 24, 48 hours. But I was with you on the journey and was aware of the way that Satan attacked you the week that he did. And the reason why I wanted to interject is because he didn't just attack you. I had scheduled my flight to come be there with Spirit Airlines. I'm not afraid to shout out Spirit Airlines. But the morning of my flight to Florida, I got an email that said, your flight's been canceled. Just so people know, like this is the lengths that the enemy will go to. And the reason why I share that is because everyone listening to this is going through something. And I think I don't want to speak for Gary, but I think what Gary just said and what I'm saying is that the enemy will go to all sorts of lengths to destroy your hopes, steal your joy. And as he said, as the scripture says it, not just Gary and I, it's not just our opinion, it is in the word. He will steal, kill, and destroy if he can. But God's bigger, man. And you and I were texting, and shout out Southwest Airlines because you said, I need you here. And I said, let me see what I can do. And within 4 or 5 hours, you and your dad were picking me up. And it was the first time IRL I got to meet Gary Miracle in person. So I think the reason why I share that is because Satan will kill, steal, and destroy if we let him.
I think that verse also gives Satan too much credit, because most people can know that verse, right? Most people can recite that verse. We can say that verse and most people can finish that verse with us.
Right.
And then we move on and we talk about that verse. We talk about how bad Satan is. But then just as in life, just as in all we think about are the bad things, all we think about are the tough things, all we think about is the glass half empty things, all we think about is the things that coulda, shoulda, woulda been, right? But the very next verse says, but I have come to give life and life to the fullest. Yeah. And we don't ever continue reading that, right? Because we stop and give Satan the credit for what he does. And he's so stinking good at it. But Christ has come to give life and life to the fullest. And that is the ultimate say I won't moment. Right. When Christ comes down and says, listen, that man, Satan, Lucifer, the devil, whatever he is to you, that guy is coming to steal, kill, and destroy. So say I won't come give you life to the fullest. Say I'm not going to send my son down there to get you, to wrap you up, to die for you, to come back to life, to raise back to heaven so that you can have life to the fullest. So stop thinking about what Satan can and cannot do. Stop thinking about how much you read the Bible this week. Stop thinking about how much you prayed this week, because Satan's only going to remind you how much you didn't read your Bible. Satan's only going to remind you how many times you didn't pray, how many times you messed up, how many curse words you said. Satan's going to remind you of all of that. And I have taken this position in my life right now that I am so sick and tired of telling people what to do or what not to do. I'm so sick and tired of other people telling me what to do and what not to do. I want to live the rest of my life reminding people who they are. And that is it. That is my entire goal, and my platform that I have right now that the Lord has given me is don't go out there telling people to stop sinning more. Don't go out there telling people to do better things. Don't go out there telling people, and I just made a post about this yesterday on Facebook. Yep. Don't tell people to do good things. Don't tell people to stop doing bad things. Just simply tell them who they are. Mm-hmm. And who we are is Christ in us. If we are examined, if you rip me apart, you're going to find Christ in me. That is who I am on my very worst day, right? That is my identity. That's who I am. It's not how many times I read my Bible. It's not how many times I prayed. It's not how many times I opened or closed my eyes when I prayed. It's not how many times I've said a bad joke or I gossiped or I lied. It's not about any of that. It's about who I am in Christ. And Christ looks down on us and says, listen, I don't care what you've done. I don't care what's been done to you. I'm crazy about you. Mm-hmm. I am absolutely madly in love with you. And that's who you are.
That's right.
Loved by Christ, no matter what happens. And I don't know that I would be living my life through the lenses of grace that I'm living in right now had this tragedy, had this traumatic personal injury not happened to me. And I'm not saying that to brag in any way. I wish it didn't happen to me. Like, I wish I didn't have this platform. I wish I didn't have this voice. I wish I didn't have this message, but I do. And until I figure out why God allowed this to happen to me, I'm just going to keep screaming it from the rooftops. Yeah. And I just want to tell people who they are and who you are right now. Whoever's listening, whoever needs to hear this, whoever hears this tonight, tomorrow, next year, you are loved by Christ. There's nothing you can do to make him love you more. Mm-hmm. He's crazy about you. And he's engulfed you. It's who you are. And this is my journey. My journey is I figured out how to walk. I figured out how to run. I lost my wife. My family is broken. I ran a race. I continued to move on. I've had dark times. We've all had dark times. I've been alone. I've been defeated. I've been down and out. I've been in the valley that Mark Stewart just talked about. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, I am Christ and Gary Miracle. Mm-hmm. And that is what I choose to believe. That is what I choose to wear. That is the robe that I choose to put on every single day. And I don't let the enemy remind me what I do or don't do anymore. I just want Christ to love on me and tell me who I am. Yeah. And if I can just say that enough, that's the only thing that I want people to know, is that it doesn't matter. Nothing else matters outside of who you are in Christ Jesus. And I'm begging people to wrap their mind around that crazy concept.
And I'll say this. So this is it's funny. We said this a minute ago, maybe online, offline, I don't know, creative editing, but it's a he said. So my version of what you just said, and I agree with you completely, is because of our friendship, I returned to Orlando months later and spent time at your home and with your mom and dad. They loved on me. You loved on me in a weekend that I needed loved on. We'll just leave it at that. Maybe one of the most decisive and important weekends in my life, somehow found my way to Orlando, because as you said, that verse doesn't end with steal, kill, and destroy. Our village, our friendships, our moments in life lead us to Christ when we're following him, and even despite ourselves sometimes. So I found myself in Florida with you, your village, your family, your parents, and your mentor, John Lynch. And on a weekend that I needed to embrace grace, maybe more than ever in my own life, somehow I'm in Orlando, Florida. You can't script this. Welcome to Unscripted. Like, seriously, you can't script how all that played out. And I know there's a lot of detail there that people probably don't understand, but you and I do. And the point, I think, of all that is, even in our darkest hour, even in our darkest moments, even in when it feels like everything is going completely off track, it's not. Christ has you. God has you. And somehow I found myself in Orlando, Florida, in a weekend that I needed grace more than ever in my life, at a men's conference with people like your friend Trey, who's been an amazing individual in my life, and John Lynch, and all these mentors. They became my village for a weekend, and still are, to be honest with you, but became my village, and they surrounded me, and they let me know that it was going to be okay, and that Christ's grace is so much bigger. All right. So we have another guest, and we promise not to cry on this episode. Gary Miracle Dose and Gary Miracle One, I guess. Uno, I guess. But you all have heard it on this episode, but I had the blessing now twice of meeting the Miracle family and the head of the Miracle family, the original 1.0 Gary Miracle, and he has joined us, which Gary Miracle Dose has created some guests, some surprise guests. Gary Miracle Uno, thank you for loving me the last year and for making me a part of your family.
Hey man, thanks. Thank you for being part of this mess and taking my son under your wing there and watching over him and coming down and being part of our family too. I guess I got to say some nice things. I want to come up and visit you here in July pretty soon. So I just don't want to pop in with some weirdo stuff here.
That's all fun. I'm just very thankful to the Miracle family, all the extent, everyone in the Miracle family for loving me as if I was one of your own.
Well, it's an honor to have you as part of our family. Just don't send me a Christmas list or anything like that, you know. But we'll work that
up, and he's trying to save money.
I know where you guys live now, so I'm just saying.
Hey, well, thanks for having me on here briefly. I've never done anything like this before. I've watched you. So it's kind of neat. Feel like a little celebrity down here in our little town.
You are a rock star. Absolutely rock stars. I've been to restaurants with you guys. You guys are absolutely rock stars down there.
I think a few more people know us now than they used to. So that's a good thing. I'm back in my life. I don't have an identity. I'm Gary's dad again. So it's
not Gary Miracle. No, he's Gary's dad.
I was me, then I was Linda's husband, then I was Jennifer's dad. Now I'm back to Gary's dad. I can never be me.
That's the man behind the miracle.
That's right. Yeah. No pun intended. Well, yeah. I'm forever thankful to you all and blessed to call you hopefully family, but also friends.
For sure. Hey, well, thanks for having me on here.
Absolutely.
Briefly. And I'm looking forward to coming up your way here in July sometime. We'll be driving through, so we'll stop by and have lunch or something with you.
100%. Whole family should be home, so we'll look forward to it. We've talked on a few things here in this episode about hopefully we're speaking to someone because we don't never know who hears us. But I have a feeling this story about the fork is going to speak to everyone. Can you talk about your story about the fork?
Yeah, man. My prayer in this right here is that something that we say or do is going to be relevant, is going to be funny, is going to be on purpose, and most of all is going to be just on time for somebody who needs to hear it.
Right.
But at the end of the day, every single one of us in this life, we're all struggling with something. We all have struggles. I don't know what it is. I don't know what yours is. I don't know. But my struggle, one of my struggles right now, and the difference between me and you right now is that my struggles are very, very visible. You can see my struggles. You can see how hard it is for me to do life without hands and legs. And this is where the fork story comes in. This is where if you were out to dinner with me at any given evening, if we were at a restaurant eating dinner, there is 190 million% chance that I'm going to drop my fork while we're eating. It's just the reality of not having hands. I'm going to drop my fork. And what I have learned is that when people see me struggle eating with a fork, when they see me struggle trying to hold on to it, and then when they see the defeat in my eyes and on my face when I drop my fork, what I've learned is that without having to ask, and without feeling silly and without feeling defeated, next thing I know, whoever I'm with, they lean down and they pick that fork up and they hand it back to me. Every single time. And I know you would too. I know you would, Aaron. I know whoever is listening to this. If you were out to dinner with me and you saw me drop my fork, you would lean down and pick it up and hand it back to me without me having to ask. And you would do that with joy in your heart and a smile on your face. I know that you would. I've seen it done to me. multiple times. And I know that you would do that. I know that you would see my struggle, my very, very, very visible struggle, and you would step into it. You would bend down, you would pick up my fork, and you would hand it back to me. But the scariest thing in life right now, in my opinion, are the struggles that you cannot see, the struggles that are invisible. Where mine are extremely visible, those invisible struggles are the ones that can kill you. Mm-hmm. And I know this. I know that anxiety is a very, very real thing. Mm-hmm. I know that depression is a very, very real thing. I know that financial struggles are real. I know that marriage struggles are real. I went through one. I just went through a divorce since this has happened to me. I know that every single one of us is struggling with something. And if you're out there, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, and if there's something that you can't think of, if you can't think of what it is you're struggling with, if you don't know that you have a struggle, then buckle up.
Hold on. Right.
Hold on. Hold fast, because it's coming. That's just life, right? That's just life. But the scariest thing in the world is if I don't know what your struggle is, I don't know how to step alongside of you. And how I relate to that is, and how I give imagery to that is, if I don't know what your struggle is, then I don't know how to bend over and pick up your fork and hand it back to you. Mm-hmm. Don't know what it is.
Right.
And I'm begging people with all of my heart. And I'm being mean about it too. Like, I'm being a jerk about it sometimes because I'm praying. I'm praying for you right now, whoever it is that's listening to this, that you can't fall asleep tonight. I pray that you will toss and turn in your bed all night tonight, and you will not be able to fall asleep until you roll over and you talk to your friend, your spouse, whoever's at your house. You pick up the phone, you call somebody, and find that courage and be brave enough to risk it with just one person in your life that you can share your struggle with. And here's what I've learned, and the biggest, most easiest way to explain it is, I've never been more loved in my life by the sharing of my struggles. And all of my life, I spent 38 years thinking that if people knew what my struggles were, they would judge me. I spent 38 years of my life knowing that if people knew the thoughts, if you knew the thoughts in my head that I had this morning, that I had yesterday, that I had last week, that you wouldn't even want me on this podcast right now. Because I didn't ever share my struggles with anybody. And sin and struggle in our lives finds its power when it's hidden. Mm. And if we just don't hide our struggles, then the sin and the struggles that we have lose all of its power. Right. And now we get to live. Now we get to live life and allow people to pick up their fork for them and hand it back to them. And I pray that speaks to somebody who just heard that.
Well, I think so. Two things. I think one, it led to our first fight was because you picked up a fork for me and I didn't ask you to. But so this guy's not just speaking; he lives what he preaches. The other thing I would tell you is a friend of mine went through cancer and we lost him to cancer. But I remember at some point he was not prideful in a bad way. I think we all have our pride. We are afraid to share our struggle, our fork with someone else. We think the things that you just talked about, marriage, finances, the list, whatever somebody's hearing this, trust me, one of the greatest things my friend ever said to me was that when we don't allow someone to help us, we are robbing them of the blessing. So to your point, when I'm in a restaurant and I see someone drop their fork, it's my opportunity to bless them to pick that up. And I know this sounds really weird and it is a bit of a mind shift, but if we don't allow others to help us, if we don't share our struggle, our anxiety, we are robbing them of what God has allowed. There's a reason why they're our friend. There's a reason why they're in our life. And we potentially could be robbing them of the blessing of helping us in the season that we're in.
Yeah. We're not meant to do life alone. Like we can go over verse after verse after verse where two or more are gathered.
Right.
Iron sharpens iron. Iron can't sharpen itself, right? Like where iron sharpens, like there's scripture after scripture that Christ gives us to say, just don't go it alone. Get involved in a community. Get involved in church. COVID's done. Stop watching church online. Go to church. Link arms with people. Let people serve you.
Yep.
Give them the space to watch them so that you can find opportunities to serve them. Like this life is just crappy out there right now. There's not enough linking arms and doing life together. There's too much division. There's just too much. I mean, we just went through the Easter season, right? And I just posted a lot of things on Facebook throughout the Easter season. And one of the worst things I could have possibly done is read you people's comments about what I'm posting, because people are mean,
right? And
people are looking to find any which way to be combative, to argue, to debate, because that's what we're conditioned to do right now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm sure everybody listening here at one point in time or another over the last year or two have thrown their phone on the couch because they're sick and tired of hearing people talk about politics.
Right.
They're sick and tired of hearing people talk about their sports teams or their agendas or sexuality or fill in the blank. Like we can literally argue what color the sky is, right? Like
right.
That's the way that things are. But the only thing on this planet that people cannot argue about is your personal testimony.
Mm-hmm.
What God did for you, what God did in you, what God did through you. They can't argue with you about that because that's what God did. So let's talk about that. Let's get out there and talk about what the Lord is doing in our lives. Not who you voted for, not what color the dress is, not any of these stupid things that we're out there doing. Let's show the world something different. Let's be the change, right? There's too many people that I know that are trying too hard to pretend. They got their mask on, they're trying too hard. I know very, very successful people that hate who they see when they look in the mirror because they keep it all in. They internalize everything. They're miserable. And then I see people broken and fragile and vulnerable that are just saying, forget it. I'm just going to risk it. I'm going to be brave enough. And I'm just going to be vulnerable enough to tell you all of my baggage. Whether you like me or hate me, you're going to remember me. And here's all of my baggage. And at the end of the day, I'm just looking for someone who has baggage to go with mine. Right. And then we can do life together. Yeah. And I'm not looking for someone good enough or pretty enough or fast enough or strong enough to do life with. I'm looking for someone who's just as broken and has had a bad day just like I did. But with that being said, I get that that's very, very, very hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. I lived 38 years of my life in the shadows. I lived 38 years of my life pretending. I lived 38 years of my life being who I needed to be with whoever it was that I was with. I was a really fantastic chameleon
mm-hmm.
to fit in, to be the funny guy, to be the fastest, to be the best looking, to be whatever it is I could be. I'm 40 years old and I got my ears pierced. Who does that? Who does that? This guy does.
Or gets tattoos that.
I'm a man now. I don't need to do this childish stuff, but I do it because I still feel like I need to fit in.
Yeah.
But because I know how difficult it is to do, because I know how scary it is to do, to be vulnerable, to risk it, to pick up that phone and make that call or send that text or send that direct message or whatever it is, how you communicate with kids and your snaps and your tweets and whatever. Like, I get how difficult that is. Mm-hmm. So we've created a movement, and Aaron has been a part of this with me. And it's all about just taking the stance and creating the anthem that no matter what my circumstances are, no matter what my situations are, that from here on out, I'm choosing to have no more bad days.
No more bad days. Yep.
Like that. No more bad days. You know, some people used to say, not today, Satan. Like that was the phrase, right?
Right.
no, I'm done. So much so I got it tattooed on my arm right there. The day that I died, with the flat line from my actual EKG with my heartbeat right underneath, it says from here on out, no more bad days. I'm just doing it.
Yeah.
So my message, my story goes out to anybody who's ever had a bad day. And I think that pretty much covers all of us.
Right.
And
I'm sorry, Gary.
No, I'm begging you not to let my story go in vain. If
No.
one more go into heaven because of what I went through, then I'd do it again. Like, let's do it.
And that leads me to the second thing that you've talked about, because I think, so first of all, if anyone's heard what Gary just said, or, what we talked about, your fork, and you may or may not be, you may have just dropped it. You may have dropped it a while ago. You may get ready to drop it soon. It may be ready to fall off the table. Your fork. You also know who will pick it up for you. And I think what Gary, I don't want to speak for Gary, but I want to say, we're begging you to call them today, to give them the gift of helping you pick up that fork, because it will change everything for the rest of this year.
To do that, if that's nerve-wracking, which we get, and this is not a shameless plug, but if you go to GaryMiracle.com, there's a tab right there that says no more bad days.
No more bad days.
Click on that, and there's a form submission.
Right.
Give me that gift of serving you. I promise you, 100% I will respond.
Right. As evidence of the fact that we're on this podcast.
Yeah.
Go to GaryMiracle.com. There's a no more bad days. Thank you for mentioning that, Gary. There's a no more bad days tab at the top. Click on it. There's a simple form. It's an anonymous form. Fill that form in, and it will send that message. Or if you're not comfortable with that, email me, Aaron at Unscripted.com. I'll get it to Gary. Whatever you want to do. I just think Gary and I want to help you pick up your fork today. We don't want people to go any longer with the struggle that they're in, even if it's anonymous. We want to help you with that. So Gary, we've covered a lot of ground, man, not just in this episode, but in the last year. And I think most people listening probably don't even know or understand it. So maybe today's just for me and you. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe today is for someone else that hears the episode. Even if it's just me and you, I'm thankful for your time. I'm thankful you responded to an email. We've covered a lot of ground. We talked about a lot of things. Can we cover a few links? First of all, our first guest was Mark Stewart. He's amazing. Go see. So I think probably the best thing to say is go see Mercy Me on the road, right? If they come to your town, if you're hearing this, go see Mercy Me.
Yeah. So he's at the Mercy Me shows right now. He's on tour with them, but Mark has a book. If you've never heard Mark's story, super long story short, best rock star, best front man in Christian history, in my opinion. An amazing dude who lost his voice. His voice was taken from him. His doctors actually told him, if you do one more rock show, you're going to be mute for the rest of your life. So his identity was taken from him. And he actually wrote a book. So this is a plug for Mark. He wrote a book called Losing My Voice to Find It. And it's an amazing, powerful book about identity, not being wrapped up in what you do, but who you are, just like we've been talking about. So that's a plug for Mark. Love Mark to death. Like I said, I've listened to Mark for 20 plus years and had the honor over the last year and a half to just be with him and his family. I'm on a group text with him and his family. We talk almost on a daily basis, almost as much as you and I talk, Aaron. And I love the guy. He's one of my greatest friends right now. So Mark Stewart is there.
And hopefully will be a future guest on, not to keep the pressure on, but hopefully to be a future guest on Unscripted, because I want to tell his story and it's amazing. And if you've ever heard Big House or all the other 90s audio adrenaline hits, you trust me, if you were in a youth group in the 90s, you know his music. We talked about No More Bad Days podcast, and you have a podcast. And so we hope to grow that this year, sharing your story as needed, but I know you're a busy guy. So it's not something that's updated daily or anything like that, but it is a podcast that's out there. I'll share that in this post as well, but also on your website, GaryMiracle.com, there is in the header, No more bad days. Don't walk another day, another moment alone. Go to the website. Just enter that in. And again, you're not going to be, we're not going to spam you. I don't want to speak for Gary.
There's actually, just on that form submission, the very last thing is a checkbox. Check yes or no if you even want to be contacted back.
There you go.
So if you just need to get it off your chest and you don't want to hear from anybody, just get it off your chest and let me have it and let me pray for you.
Yeah.
If you want to be contacted back, check yes, and I'll email you back.
So it's not a spam list. And if you are interested, awesome. If not, awesome. Either way, you're not going to be spammed like a lot of those things out there. It's really just a matter of and an opportunity for you to share your story. Last thing, almost a year ago, we did this podcast, and I would say that you and I had no clue the day we did that podcast what the next 365 days would hold. And today you're sitting there wearing a shirt for my business and a hat. Actually, if people could see the front of it, you're wearing a hat. There it is. Man, we did not know. I mean, think about that, Gary, how crazy that is. That 365 days ago, we had no clue, none whatsoever, what the next 365 days would hold. But what I'm thankful for is that you're my brother and my friend, and that for the last 365 days, you've been a text away, because I don't know how I'd walk through that journey without it. And that's what I guess I want to share with everybody is find a brother, find a friend, find a sister, find a village. Because even as you sit here today, you may not know who the next person is for the next 365. And man, I love you and thank you for being in my life the last 365.
Man, yeah. Yeah, man. I don't know where I'd be. Yeah. You've been there. We've just been in the trenches. We've been on the mountaintops. We've done all the things in a year. Who knows where we're going to be next year?
Well, I like to think that we go through hills and valleys in our life. And, I think for each of us, you far more than me, the last 365. And even before that, really been in that valley, but I see you coming up out of that valley, and I can't wait to celebrate the next 365 with you and the mountaintops in our lives, because it's coming. And if you're hearing this, if you're in the valley, first of all, go to GaryMiracle.com, put your information in there. Let us help you pick up the fork. And, but the valley's coming, and we want to be there and celebrate it with you.
And there's some more resources, man. I want to give a couple more shout outs.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
And the biggest shout out that I got, and I've referenced my mentor a ton, and we've said his name, John Lynch. If you don't know John Lynch, he has a ministry called John Lynch Speaks. When I started my ministry back in August, him and his board gave me the permission to join him, which is where Gary Miracle Speaks came from. I want to be John Lynch when I grow up.
Don't we all? He's awesome.
And he's an amazing guy. If you have not read the book of his called The Cure, please delete this podcast as fast as you can. Get that book.
No, don't do that.
It's not my podcast. I don't care. Delete it. Okay, don't do it. But put it on the back burner and go read The Cure. Read The Cure. The Cure, outside of the Bible, single book that changed my life in this concept of grace. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to John Lynch. Obviously, my dudes in Mercy Me for just having my back, linking arms with me, writing Say I Won't, allowing me to share my story in their music video. It's been instrumental in my life in the last 2 years.
We want to give one more shout out. And that's to our guy, Micah Tyler. Also touring with Mercy Me. Got to see Micah now twice. Hopefully he'll be on as a guest. No plug, Micah, if you're listening, come on, man. But just an incredible show, incredible music. I know there's several songs that he has that I've sent to my girls. I honestly listen to multiple songs of his every morning in my journey. And so shout out Micah Tyler as well, who toured with Mercy Me. And I think his tour ended right here in Columbus 2 weeks ago. He got to, to be there. So
Mike is a real deal. He wanted to be a part of the podcast today as well. He was just on the road. He wanted to pop in and say hi. So that shows his just being genuine and man, his heart. These guys are real guys. John Lynch, Mercy Me, Micah Tyler.
One more shout out.
hang on. What we got?
The mom behind the miracle.
Hello.
Oh my gosh.
I was not expecting it. And then she disappeared. We didn't get a chance to talk to her.
Nobody's ever expecting Linda to walk in the room. But there she is.
She's the best. So nobody knew 365 days ago where we would be today. And what I can promise is that today's not the last episode we're ever going to do. There's going to be more blooper reels. And trust me, there's several from this episode today. But there's going to be more blooper reels. There's going to be more adventures, I hope. And I believe that God has those written for us. We don't even know what they are yet. I'm a little scared at what they might be, but there are more adventures and more episodes with Gary. And man, I love you. I love your family. Thank you for the guests that came in today. Thank you for the surprises, and just thank you for allowing me to be a part of your village, brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you, dude. We'll talk.
All right, we'll talk soon.